Hello, everyone. Today is the 5th of October, 2022. It is a Wednesday, and it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We just left off with Stormfinn winning his duel with the Gloomer. And then we left off with Knopf and Martin staying in Brock Hall and Abbess Germain what'd she say? Bella of Brock Hall said the mice should stay there through the winter, so that way they don't get captured by the forces of Koiter. And it looks like that's where we're picking back up. Looks like a weasel. The sun beat down on the soldiers of Koiter as they stood in serried ranks upon the parade ground. Each creature stood as stiff as a ramrod, and all wore every available piece of equipment, including heavy spears, shields, and full packs stuffed with rocks strapped to their backs. Blacktooth licked a drop of sweat that rolled past his lip. He muttered to Split Nose, "Huh, what's all this about? It was the Gloomer. The Gloomer lost the battle, not us. As far as I see, we didn't do too badly against those river wallopers and tree jumpers." Split Nose twitched his eyelid against an inquisitive fly. "You're right there, Blackie. Sometimes I think I'd like to pack in all this old soldierin' lark at Koiter." Behind them in the next rank, Borg could not resist a titter. "Hee hee hee. Just you try it, Stoat. Where would you go on your own, eh? Nah, she'd have you dragged back and made an example of." Scrat in the rank behind Borg agreed. "Aye, you're a pass right there, Borg, but there's not many would pass up a chance of sliding off from here and starting up somewhere else. Perhaps we might form a little group sometime and try it." Blacktooth was skeptical. "Oh yes, let me tell you something, Scrat. That'd be worse than going off on..." Pages are getting away from me. Give me a second. Your own. It'd be mutiny or mass desertion, and you know Tasmania punished that little lot. Scrat knew only too well. Death. Black Claw chuckled humorlessly. "Right, deader than a fallen log. Huh, you'd be glad to see so when she finished with you, bucko." Clud's heavy voice bellowed out along the parade ground. "Silence in the ranks. No talking back there." Scrat muttered under his breath, "Oh, dry up, slobber chops. We weren't even out in the forest when we had it to fight." "No, he was back there in his nightie on, snoring like a dead dog," Split Nose snickered. "I won't tell you again. I said silence in the ranks." From the rear of the army, a complaining voice called out, "I reckon we've been stood here nearly 2 hours. What for?" Other voices began complaining before Clud could silence them. Aye, and why the full uniform and rock packs? Are we supposed to roast alive? Pretty draft, if you ask me. I'm only a storeroom guard. Tasmania prowled silently out of the main door into the sunlit parade ground. An immediate deafening silence fell over all. She signaled the Clud. The captain of the guard bellowed to the sweating troops, "Tribute to the Queen," followed by 12 circuits of the square at the double. Begin. With a loud shout, ferrets and stoats and weasels roared in unison. "Tasmania, Queen of Mossflower, Slayer of enemies, Lady of thousand eyes, Conqueror of all creatures, Ruler of Coitur, Daughter of Lord Green Eyes." Breaking off, they commenced running in a swift trot around the parade ground, punished by the harsh gravel, muscles aching with the strain of the heavy packs and cumbersome weapons. Tasmania watched him passively, remarking to Ashleg, "Daughter of Lord Green Eyes, who said that was to be kept among my titles. Behind her back, my list of titles." Behind her back, Ashleg looked at Fortuna and shrugged. The wildcat vixen stared fixedly ahead at her troops, lumbered by the second circuit. "Well, I'm still waiting for an answer. Who said that my troops should be shouting out about my dead father instead of me? Am I not capable of ruling Coitur alone?" Fortuna got in ahead of Ashleg. "There's never been a more capable ruler than you, milady. Oh, on my oath as a healer, it was not I who arranged your title list." Tasmania rubbed her injured paw thoughtfully. Behind her ashen legs' wooden limp made nervous little shifting noises. "Let me grab some tea." "What have you got to say for yourself, Martin?" "Your Majesty, I thought that..." Tasmania's snarl overrode Ashenleg's nervous muttering. "Thought? Who gave you permission to think? Get out on that parade ground this instant." The unhappy Ashenleg stumped out, knowing it was useless to plead or argue. Tasmania halted the march on its next circuit. They called a halt in front of the in front of the Martin. She called out to Claude, "Keep Ashleg in front of the army. First rank, point your spears at the Martin, all of you, and remember, I am no longer daughter of Lord Green Eyes. That title is dead. It will be replaced by Tasmania the Magnificent." At the wave of Claude's spear, the army chanted aloud, "Tasmania the Magnificent!" Ashleg looked around nervously. He was standing out in front of a rank of gleaming spear points, all pointed at his body. The Martin gathered up his cloak, knowing the cruel command that was immediate. Tasmania's snarl cut across his thoughts. At the double, carry on. Fortuna stood to one side, knowing that a careless word would have her placed alongside the helpless Martin. Ashleg tried not to think. Desperately, he dragged himself along in a frantic hop, come hobble in front of the lethal spears. Madly, he tried to gain a little ground, only to realize that he was hard to put to keep what lead he had from the relentless double marching soldiers. Tasmania laughed mockingly as she dug Fortuna in the ribs. Ha! Fippity clump, fox. How long do you reckon he'll last? Not long at this rate, mate, milady. Look at him trying to keep ahead of those spears. Ashling might be too bright, but he's at least obedient and loyal. Tasmania sighed moodily. Her fun had been spoiled. You're right, I suppose. Tell Clud to call a halt. Fortuna waved a signal to the stolid weasel captain. Clud halted the troops at the very moment Ashen Lake fell face forward on the gravel, his tortured body unable to travel another pace. He was sobbing pitifully for breath. Tasmania prowled purposely out in front of the ranks, ignoring Ashleg, who was dragging himself painfully toward the inner coolness of the entrance hall. The wildcat faced her command as they stood in the gravel dust with heaving chests. Look at you. See how you've grown fat and lazy? Slugs, worms. As from today, all that this will change. Believe me or die. Mice, two silly little mice, have escaped my prison. Together with the rabble of woodlanders, they made fools of you all. Nervous paws crunched the gravel as Tasmania's fury and scorn lashed them. I'll take revenge for the insult to my majesty. Mossflower will be drenched in the blood of any creature who will not obey me, whether it be woodlander or soldier of Koiter. Fortuna shuddered inwardly as at the mad light that shone in Tasmania's eyes as her voice rose in the sunlit stillness. Clud, Ashen Lake, Fortuna, you'll split the army 4 ways. Take a group each. I will stay here to guard Koiter with the remainder. You will go into the forest and hunt every last Windlander. Take them prisoners. Any that resist, kill. Koiter will grow strong again with prisoners to serve it. We will enslave them. The flatlands to the west will be cultivated and farmed. My father was too soft with those creatures. They took advantage of his good-natured and letting them live outside the walls in a settlement. That's where we encouraged them to desert. Too much freedom. Well, I'll tell you all right now. No more settlements. It will be cells for them. Separate cells. Punishments. That's what they'll be here for. We'll hold their young as hostage to stop any uprising. They will toil from dawn to dusk, or their families will starve. Go now and remember, this time there will be no failure. There was a hurried clanking and stamping from already armed and kitted troops. Orders were called amid wheeling and marching. In a short time, Tasmania stood alone on the empty parade ground, staring at a single fallen spear. Whoever had dropped it would be far too scared to come back and retrieve it. She stooped and picked up the weapon as something whooshed by close overhead. Aguilar. Allegor. Aguilar. As big and powerful as she was, Tasmania did not wait to challenge the eagle. Taking a swift run, she vaulted through a ground window, using the spear shaft as a pole. Peering out, she saw Angular circle away to his perch, wheel out of arrow range. The wildcat queen was glad no one had witnessed her retreat. Chapter 15. This looks like their informant, their thief bird. We'll figure out his name again in a second. Oh! Speaking of, it's a good time to change gloves. I think his name was Chibb. It was Chibb. I was right. Well done, chatters, viewers, listeners, and feelers. Don't cross towards Mania. She is one fierce cookie. Chibb the Robin watched the little procession of woodlanders marching southward. He had no doubt that they were coming to visit him. They were carrying food. If they were not coming to see him, then what right did they have wandering about Mossflower carrying bags of candied chestnuts? He was different from other birds. For the sake of his fat little stomach, Chibb had overcome all barriers. Greed was the one motive that drove him to sell his spying skills to others. Greed tempted with wisdom. Chibb would never sell his services to Koiter, but as he had narrowly escaped being eaten by weasels and such on more than one occasion, the woodlanders used Chibb whenever they had cause to, sometimes to locate a missing young one, more often than not to find out what was going on in the other parts of the forest. Chibb did not come cheaply, however. The fat robin had a fondness amounting to a passion for candied chestnuts. He watched the party below him, Martin, Lady Amber, and the young loam-hedged mouse called Columbine, who was in the lead. Knopf and Bellrum, the mole, trained behind, both carrying bark cloth bags and candied chestnuts. Chibb could not take his bright eyes off the bag that Knopf was bouncing playfully in his paws. Candied chestnuts, eh? Bellum, what good of giving those old Chibb just for a skinny bit of spine? I bet me and you could scoff these between us and get their spine done for 'em easy. The trusty mole caught the bag midair as Knopf tossed it. He wrinkled his velvet face in a deep chuckle. Her, ho, little winner, they send o'er to keep and watch on the villain Master Knopf, keeping our paws out of the chestnuts, or he tells Miss Bella offie. Knopf threw his paws back and up in mock horror and ran to catch up with Martin, complaining aloud. The nerve of Bellum. Fancy not trusting old Knopf, me, that was sent on this mission specifically to keep an eye out for greedy moles. I end up getting scragged by you lot trying to keep those chestnuts safe. There's no room for an honest thief these days. Martin chuckled as he watched Columbine from the corner of his eye. The pretty young field mouse was laughing merrily, obviously taken by Knopf's roguish charm. Martin encouraged her by putting in the odd word or two on his friend's behalf. Be careful of that fella, Columbine. He's not one of your low-hedged order. If you don't watch Knopf, he'll steal your whiskers out from under your nose. Columbine's eyes went wide with amazement. Would he really? Knopf winked at Martin, cartwheeling suddenly. He shot across Columbine's path so close he brushed her face. With a squeak and shock, she put her paws. Martin shook his head seriously. They don't call Knopf the Prince of Thieves for nothing. Have you counted your whiskers, Columbine? Put her paws up, then dropped them. Oh, really, you two? Knopf bowed and produced two thin strands. What do you think these are, oh wise beauty? Columbine's mouth fell open. But I didn't feel a thing. Bellum had caught up. He chuckled and scratched his snout. Nor, I wagers you didn't, missy. They're whiskers off Knopf. That's how I never feels them, oi. Lady Amber pointed at a long-dead elm covered in ivy. She held up upon silence. Hush now, this is Chibb's home. We don't want to frighten him off. Knopf, you do the talking. Knopf rapped on the trunk of the elm and shouted up toward a hole left by a broken branch. Hey, Chibb, come out, you red beast. You bred breast. It's me, Knopf. There was no response. Knopf tried again. Come on, matey. We know you're in there. What's up? You don't want to earn some candied chestnuts? Well, Billum opened one of the bags and selected a large chestnut. Har, meaps, you right, Knopf and us could eat chestnuts and do the job ourselves. The mole poked the dark sugary glazed nut into his mouth, licked the sweetness from his digging claw, and chomped away with an expression of rapture on his homely face. Good. Much to Columbine's amusement, Knopf did likewise, imitating perfectly the mole speech and gestures. Haru Billum, these you're the very first-class chestnuts, sir. Haru they be. They had eaten a nut apiece when a bout of nervous coughing erupted from the branches of a nearby rowan. Harum, ahem. Chibb puffed out his chest importantly, ruffling his feathers to increase his stature. He placed a branch. He paced a branch with wings folded behind him in a business-like attitude. Politely, he cleared his throat once more before speaking. Harum, ahem. Excuse me. Let me warn you before we proceed any further. If anyone eats another nut, I will judge it an insult, then of course you will have to take your business elsewhere. Ahem. Please consider what I say before answering, Martin responded in an equally formal tone. I have been authorized to make you an offer. Here are our terms. Chibb, you will spy on Coister to find out what plans are being made by Tasmania against the woodlanders of Mossflower. The quorum wish to know all details of any res- respo- resposals or attacks directed at our creatures. For this, you will be paid 2 bags of candied chestnuts now and a further 2 bags upon bringing back your information. Is that agreed? Chibb cocked his head to one side. His bright eye watched Knopf as he picked crumbs of chestnut from his whiskers with his tongue. The robin coughed nervously. Columbine had assessed the situation correctly. She interrupted in a more friendly tone. Of course, the bags will be carefully counted, Mr. Chibb. The bags will be completely filled, and I will see that 4 more nuts be added as an entrance for the 2 that have been eaten, and another 4 added as evidence of good faith in our well-known skills. Chibb shifted his claws and fixed Columbine with a quizzical stare. Ahem. Hem. You are the one for Loamhedge, they call Columbine. I shall do business with you. Harumph. Excuse me. These others are not required for our dealings. Lady Amber breathed a sigh of relief. Chibb could be incredibly pompous and stubborn. Thank the fur for the good sense and initiative shown by Columbine. The robin flew down and bowed courteously to the low-edged mouse. Arum! There is, however, a small matter that may cost an extra nut or 2. Billum nudged Knopf. Oi! Expect there might be her. Chibb ignored them all. Yerm, yes, there's the question of the eagle angular. Ahem. As you know, he is back in the area of Koiter. This puts an element of risk upon my espionage activities. Columbine nodded in agreement. Indeed it does, Mr. Chibb. I appreciate this. Should you be attacked or injured in any way by large birds, we propose in doubling your fee. Do we have a bargain, sir? Chibb was almost dumbfounded by the generous offer. He held out a claw to Columbine. Ahem. A bargain, Miss Columbine, a bargain indeed. Paw shook claw. Lady Amber interrupted to give the details of the spying mission to the robin. Knopf tossed the 2 bags expertly up into Chibb's home in the elm, and goodbyes were made all around as the friends departed. A few places in the undergrowth, Lady Amber held up a paw. Hush, listen. Silently, they tried to stifle laughter as the sounds of Chibb reached them. The robin was stuffing himself with his fee, coughing with excitement as he crammed candy chestnuts into an already overflowing beak. Caw, scoff, morph, humph, rumph, crunch, humph. Martin held his sides as tears from stifled laughter ran down his cheeks. Ha ha! Oh dear, listen to that. Oh dear, the little glutton. Columbine, whatever possessed you to offer him double a fee like that? Columbine leaned up against the tree, helpless with mirth. Oh, well, I could have offered him 10 times the fee if I thought. Oh, imagine a robin coming back to claim a fee after being attacked by a golden eagle. There wouldn't be enough of him left to make a smear on Angelor's beak. The great eagle could scoff Chibb in half a mouthful. Ha ha. Tasmania stood at a barred window in full view of Angelor's perch. I'm here, you great feathered blind worm, she called. Angelor took the bait, The fierce instinct of his ancestors would not allow him to do otherwise. The eagle launched from his perch with blood-chilling screech, diving like a great winged missile at his insolent tormentor. Tasmania danced triumphantly and laughed aloud at the sight of the half-blind eagle smashing against the barred window. Ha! You blundering old feathered mattress! Dozy farm out, yard fowl! Angelor struggled awkwardly on the narrow window ledge, trying to marshal his wings into a proper position to regain what was left of his dignity. The great eagle slipped from the sill, landed on the ground. He had to resort to an ungainly, lopsided, shuffling run to attain flight. Tasmania purred aloud and dug her claws into a rug and opening and closing them, revealing the pretense of pinioning helpless woodlanders in her needle-like grip, puncturing imaginary hides. Suddenly she whirled over, tossing the rug high in the air. Leaping upon it, she rent it fiercely with her savage strength. Fragments of the flayed rug flew around the room as she ripped and slashed. Hairs and fibers coated in the sunlight shaft from the bars, dancing in golden dust motes in their way up to the floor. Filled with exuberance, the big cat paced relentlessly. Soon a bunch of woodlanders would be marched in, sniveling and bound to await her pleasure. Oh, and what pleasure! She would deal with personally. Otters, yes, she would take them down to Gloomer's Lake and see how well they would swim, bound and weighted with stones. That would teach them manners. Then there was one or two squirrels that could do with jumping lessons from the battlement roof of Koiter. As for the rest, there were always plenty of good hard work in cells, and the cells. Tasmania sprang down the stairways and dripping passages of her fortress, heading for the cells where sunlight seldom penetrated. Two stoat guards tried hastily to come to attention at their queen as their queen hurtled past, but they were knocked spinning sideways. Picking himself up from a pool of slimy water, one of the stoats rubbed his head where it had banged against the wall. By the fang, what do you suppose is wrong with her this time? His companion felt gingerly at the sore beginnings of a lump on his snout. Your guess is as good as mine. One thing I do know, she's not down here for the good of our health. We'd better get straightened up before she comes back this way. Tasmania ran from cell to cell, peering through the bars at the hostile interiors as she muttered aloud, "Yes, good, this is ideal. They'll soon learn obedience down here. Males in one cell, females in another, and young ones in a special prison of their own. Where can they be heard, but not seen by their parents? I must be remembered. I must remember that heard, but not seen. That's, well, what we have here, all alone in the darkness." Genevieve was fading into a gaunt skeleton. The once glossy coat was ragged and grayling. His whole body had an air of neglect and decay about it. Despite his eyes, they fixed Tasmania with a burning intensity that she was forced to look away. Well, 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 my one-time brother. I thought perhaps you had perished by now in this unhealthy atmosphere. Dark, cold, damp, with little to eat. But cheer up. I'll find you an even deeper and darker prison when you move out to make room for the new lodgers I'm planning. How would that suit you? Genevieve stood grasping the cell bars. He stared at his sister. Tasmania shifted nervously, her previous mood of euphoria rapidly disintegrating. She became irritable. Never fear, my silent, staring brother. I can soon fix up other arrangements for you. A sword, perhaps, or a spear during the night to deepen your sleep. Genevieve's eyes burned into Tasmania. His voice was like a Kell, murderer. Tasmania broke and ran, pursued by the voice of her brother like a spear at her back. Murderer! You killed our father! Murderer! Murderer! When the sounds of Tasmania's flight had died away, Genevieve let go of the bars and slumped to the floor, hot tears pouring from her fevered eyes. After their trek through Mossflower to find Chibb, the little party were ready for food. Now that all the Woodlanders were billeted at Brock Hall, mealtimes were like a constant feast. So many different dishes were contributed. A plenty posy lay in the middle of the festive board symbolizing the coming together in springtime to oppose the reign of Coiter. Knopf was conscious of Columbine watching him. Bella had given the little mouse thief permission to sing grace. He stood up boldly and sang aloud. Squirrels, otters, hedgehogs, mice, moles with fur like sable, gathered good spirits all round this festive table, still down to eat and drink. Friends, we do, let's think. Fruits of forest, fields, and banks. To springtime we give thanks. The Woodlanders began passing food. As Knopf sat down, he winked at Columbine, showing no sign of modesty. Good, eh? That's an ancient chant that's been sung through the ages. I composed it a moment ago today. Knopf was so pleased with himself that Columbine could not help laughing with him at his outrageous statement. Martin sat at many tables, farm tables, inn tables, and more often than not, any handy flat piece of rock where he could lay his food. Now he sat back and surveyed the board before him with wonder. Bellrush and water shrimp soup provided by the otters, a large flagon of Skipper's famous hot root punch, hazelnut truffle, blackberry apple crumble, baked sweet chestnuts, honey toffee pears, and maple tree cordial. A joint effort by hedgehogs and squirrels. Loamhedge and Mossflower mice had combined to provide a number of currant and berry pies, seed cake and potato scones, and a cask of October ale. By far the sweetest single offering was the colossal turnip in tater, beetroot in bean, deep in ever pie, with tomato chutney baked by the formal and his team. Normally a solid trencher mice, Martin would have stuck to deeper and ever pie, but Knopf encouraged him and Columbine to share some of everything. Here, matey, how's that October ale, Columbine? Try some of this hot root punch. How do you like seaweed cake? How do you like seed cake? Try some of this, both of you. Come on, have a wedge. Hey, Martin, do you reckon you'd get the better of one of these toffee pears? Come on, get stuck in it, stuck in it. Put that hot root punch down, Columbine. You look like your face is on fire. Try some of the maple tree cordial. Ferdy and Cog sat nearby to hero worshipping Martin and Knopf. Tell us what, Cogs. If I ever come across a broken sword, I'm going to hang it around my neck just like Martin the Warrior. Honey, fancy trying to keep old Knopf locked up in Koiser. I bet he'll come back with both paws tied. You know, I think I look a bit like Knopf. Of course you do. I look like Martin. Pretty quiet and very brave. Or I will when I'm older. Just you wait and see. Come on, matey. We've eaten enough. Let's go off together and invade Koiter before we get sent to bed. We can slip away quiet-like. In the hubbub and confusion of the feast, nobody knows the two baby hedgehogs take their leave. And we'll stop there today. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land, and the sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Our flags unfurled to every breeze, from dawn to setting sun. We have fought in every clime and place where you could take a gun. In the snow of far-off northern lands and in sunny tropic scenes, you will find us always on the job, the United States Marines. Here's health to you and to our corps, which we are proud to serve. In many a strife we fought for life and never lost our nerve. If the Army and the Navy ever looked on heaven's scenes, they will find the streets are guarded by United States Marines. Semper Fi. Hoorah. I had an excellent day today. I already barbecued with my dad. It was fun. Made some burgers. Can't go wrong with burgers. And I made a bunch of tea today. Hi, Penguin Superhero. Today is Wednesday, so you're not streaming. I just got done streaming. I've been good. I actually went to a barbecue this morning. We've been doing that while the weather's good. We grilled up burgers. They were delicious. I know. They were good. They were good. Speaking about getting fat, I just made deep fried chicken. I think Tuesday. How's your streams been going? Tuesdays and Saturdays, right? Woo! Doing good. Very cool. A London tour. I'm excited. I'll be tuning in. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I'm so stoked. Nice. I'll be in a hotel room then. That's after my lunch with a friend. Somebody's getting married, so I'll be watching on my phone in Oregon. I know, a wedding. So exciting. Thank you. All right, chatters, viewers, listeners, and feelers. I'm probably going to call it there. I'm out of tea. Seems like a good time. I'll shoot a picture of the outside so that you guys can see it. Sorry I missed you the last couple days. Hopefully I catch your next stream. Excellent. Thank you for the support. I just appreciate people stopping by. Makes my day. And I'll be wearing this jersey. Check your pecs. for breast cancer awareness. I don't have anyone that's passed away from breast cancer in my family. It was ovarian cancer, and it is close to my heart. So I wear the pink for them. Alright, everyone. It's okay. I'm sorry too. It was a sad topic. Maybe I should have waited till next stream to bring it up. It was my Nana. She was a beautiful lady. And she loved her McDonald's fries, and so do I. Yep. She was a sweetheart. Her name was Barbara. Chips. Nice. I love them too. We actually make some of our own sometimes. We'll get the potatoes, we'll chop them up, throw them in the fryer, and then season them up, whatever we're feeling. Mine too. My Nana's name was Barbara. I guess it's a common name for back in the day. That blows my mind. Penguin superhero. That blows my mind. That's so cool. Well, I will leave you with a picture of something that I made for my, not made, but I have made her things, but she used to say her spirit animal was a hummingbird. So we got a hummingbird feeder up. I hope you get to see one. Me too. We saw a hummingbird fly by the other day, and I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if I had a feeder out here, and maybe they'd be interested in stopping by for a quick respite. I'll be their water boy for all our football playing nanas out there. That's American. Well, I will leave you with the date and a little ditty that I like to sing. The date is October 5th. It is 2022, and it is a Wednesday. And there's birds chirping around. And my ditty that I will say to you is, okay, I'll leave you with this. Shock troop, devil dog, bloodthirsty, war machine, ready to fight, ready to kill, ready to die, but never will.